I'm getting you all the details you need to know on the preparations, the steps that have been taken by authorities in the national capital to ensure we're 100% prepared for a full-fledged Desi welcome for our guests ahead of the G20 summit. Also, we're going to ensure the next 1 hour you're fully primed and ready to go on what exactly could be the tangible takeaways of the G20 summit. Why is it being referred to as a game changer for India? What will it mean for essentially the world order as it stands? That and much more coming your way. As always, let's begin with the headlines. After Udayanidhi DMK MP Raja's unrelenting attack on Hinduism likened Sanatana to AIDS and leprosy, Congress distances itself, BJP hits back, vows to eradicate DMK from Tamil Nadu.
सनातन धर्म सबों का अपमान तो सुन ले सोनिया जी, हिंदू आस्था, हिंदू चिंतन का अपमान नहीं सहेगा हिंदुस्तान.
Row over Udayanidhi Stalin, Sanatana insult explodes after Prime Minister called for a counter from his mantris. Chief Minister Stalin rushes to the defense of his son. Massive protests break out against Udayanidhi in Madurai. Big showdown over Bengal minority panel as it has only Urdu-speaking Muslims. BJP lashes out, asks why no Sikhs, Christians or Jains in the committee. Prime Minister Modi concludes visit to Indonesia, forges stronger ties with ASEAN partners, presents 12-point proposal for strengthening India-ASEAN cooperation.
हमारी हिस्ट्री और ज्योग्राफी भारत और आसियान को जोड़ते हैं.
Aditya L1 shares a stunning selfie, as you see on your screens there, with the Earth and Moon from space. ISRO also announces that the mission attained a new higher orbit around the Earth. And it's a bumper opening for King Khan's Jawan. Cinego's Storm Cinema, Shah Rukh Khan starrer Jawan makes history in advance booking, gets rave reviews as well.
Kia Sonet, undeniably wild.
India is all set to say Namaste G20 to all of the world leaders who will be touching down in the national capital come tomorrow. Last-minute preparations that are underway. I've been on ground getting you for the last many days all the updates on how Delhi's been completely decked up and spruced up for this very moment. Last-minute hectic activities that are underway. The Prime Minister himself is now closely tracking all of the latest updates that are coming in, reviewing all the preparations on ground. Security has been tightened. The central Delhi area, Pragati Maidan, Bharat Mandapam, where you're going to see the main event take place, is all set for the G20 Gala. Let's first begin by getting you a report on the latest coming in from the heart of the national capital.
Illuminated, resurfaced, embellished. India set for the global carnival of geopolitics and economy. The world's most powerful en route to New Delhi for the G20 summit starting September 9th.
Expectation is very high, although at the same time also because of this situation and context, especially geopolitical situation context, which is not easy. G20 is the 20th largest economy in the world, and not to mention also the largest number of population globally. So therefore, expectation is very high, especially on the G20 leadership and commitment on the on the most pressing development issues and challenges of our time. Everybody is looking forward to the outcome of the summit.
The capital city turned into an impregnable fortress. Uniformed personnel standing sentinel at every major intersection and thoroughfare. The skies above equally safeguarded, with fighter jets on standby. Surveillance drones patrolling the airspace. During his visit, US President Joe Biden will travel in the Beast, billed as the world's safest car. Being flown to India from the United States in a Boeing C-17 Globemaster III, jam-packed with features. The presidential vehicle with military-grade armor, a blast-proof fuel tank, oxygen tanks, firefighting gear, and even containers of the president's blood type. A fleet of bulletproof limousines guarantees the safe transit of other dignitaries. A quick response disaster management center in place for any emergency during the summit.
India is all set and decked up. You can see 5-star hotels, manicured lawns, national flag, murals and slogans and banners. Atiti Devo Bhava, that slogan, reverberating in everything that you see in the national capital. Moria Sheraton, of course, the pictures that you see, will be hosting the US President Joe Biden, and he's not going to be the first one to be hosted at this 5-star hotel in Lutyens, Delhi, where, Jim Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and even US President Donald Trump have stayed.
An emergency medical plan activated in the city. 4 of the key hospitals taken over by the army. A control room at each one of them in 24/7 contact with the main G20 venue and hotels for the VVIP guests.
हमारा अस्पताल 3 नोडल हॉस्पिटल्स जो डेजिग्नेट किए हैं उनमें से एक है. यहाँ पर सारे वीआईपी डेलीगेट्स मतलब हेड ऑफ स्टेट्स के लिए भी तैयारी की गई है, और जो बाकी डेलीगेट्स हैं उनके लिए भी हमने पूरा 40-50 बेड उन लोगों के लिए भी रिजर्व करके रखे हैं. उसके अलावा डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में बायोलॉजिकल डिजास्टर से निपटने के लिए भी हमारा हॉस्पिटल डेजिग्नेट हुआ है.
For city residents, authorities have set up special mobile police posts in order to facilitate filing of complaints and FIRs, especially in zone with tight restrictions during the G20 event.
ये देखिए, ये एक पायलट प्रोजेक्ट है जिसमें बस के अंदर थाना बनाने की कोशिश की गई है. ये आप देखिए, एक ड्यूटी ऑफिसर यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं जो सामने बैठी हैं, जो आमतौर पे हम देखते हैं कि दिल्ली पुलिस के जब हम थानों में जाते हैं दिल्ली के, तो वहां पर जिस तरीके से ड्यूटी ऑफिसर मौजूद होती हैं, इसके अलावा अलग अलग अधिकारी जिनका काम होता है थानों के अंदर, उस तरीके से बस के अंदर भी डिप्लॉय किए गए हैं, जो अपने काम को उसी तरीके से करेंगे जैसे वो थानों के अंदर अंजाम देते हैं. आप अपनी रिटन कंप्लेन दे सकते हैं, और चूंकि ये पायलट प्रोजेक्ट है, आगे पीछे चारों तरफ यहाँ पे सीसीटीवी कैमरे लगाए गए हैं, हुटर्स लगाए गए हैं, ताकि अगर भीड़ के इलाकों में जाता है तो इसे रास्ता मिलता रहे.
A city ready to welcome the world powers. A country embraces the global stage with the commitment to shape a brighter future for the planet. Bureau Report, India Today.
And I'm sure you're wondering, when do these world leaders touch down in the national capital? We've accessed the full schedule here on India Today. The arrivals begin as early as 5 in the morning. But your high-profile world leaders, part of the G20, when do they touch down in Delhi? Let me break that down for you right now. At 8:50 a.m., you will have Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, touching down, and she will be received by Minister Shobha Karanlajee. Remember, for each case, you're going to have a minister receiving them at the airport. Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, will reach Delhi at 1:40 in the afternoon. Minister Ashwini Kumar Choube will be there to welcome him. Now, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, will reach in the evening at about 4:50 p.m. and post that all your high-profile world leaders will touch down. Anthony Albanese, Prime Minister of Australia, who's visited before as well, will be coming at 6:15 in the evening. He will be received by Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar. US President Joe Biden is slated to touch down in Delhi at 6:55 p.m. in the evening. He will be received by Union Minister General V.K. Singh. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, will touch down in Delhi 5 minutes after Biden at 7 p.m. Rajiv Chandrasekhar will be there to personally greet him and welcome him to India. Remember that Chinese President Xi Jinping is not turning up. Instead, Prime Minister of China, Li Qiang, will be here. He's going to be reaching at 7:45 in the evening. General V.K. Singh, besides the US President, will also be receiving the Chinese Prime Minister. The Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, will touch down at 8 a.m. on Saturday, just in time for the G20 Summit, will be received by Minister Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma. Emmanuel Macron, French President, also will come on Saturday at about 12:35, we're being told. This will be in the afternoon, so he's going to be one of the last arrivals in the national capital. So these are the high-profile world leaders, just some of them that we've picked for you and given you details of. The stage is set for us to host the G20 Summit. Almost every iconic location in Delhi has been spruced up and lit up to welcome all the G20 leaders. Let's get you some of those images. Wing Commander Gajendra from the Indian Air Force displayed the G20 flag at a height of 10,000 feet above the ground. This is a day ahead of the G20 Summit. DRDO's counter-drone systems have been deployed in the diplomatic enclave by security agencies to provide protection against drones to foreign visitors. Defense sources say that these systems can tackle drone threats from long distances. The Delhi police has deployed mobile police stations amid traffic restrictions in view of the G20 Summit scheduled to happen this weekend. The idea is that if there is any emergency, the cops will immediately be able to move. It will help people who want to lodge a complaint or file an FIR. Stunning images that show you how Delhi is all decked up with lights and G20 posters. The Supreme Court has been lit up in the tricolour ahead of the G20 Summit. The Supreme Court is very, very close to Bharat Mandapam. Renowned sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik has welcomed US President Joe Biden in his own unique way with this giant sand sculpture of Biden with 2,000 diyas at the Puri beach. So we've got you all the images of how Delhi is all set to host the G20 Summit. This is a game changer for India for many, many reasons, not just because we're hosting it, but because it sends across a very clear message to the world. What do I mean by that? Let's take a look at what some of the takeaways of the G20 Summit that will happen this week really are. As far as the impact on Bharat is concerned, this essentially cements our place as the voice of the global South, a term that the Prime Minister constantly refers to. Also as a rising force in digital transactions internationally by many of the developed economies and countries, we've been hailed for our UPI system. We could also lead the change and lead the fight against climate change, essentially something that G20 countries also have failed to take on enough. And also the very important term of Vishwaguru and Vishwamitra at a time of global conflict amid the Russia-Ukraine war, we could play a crucial role in being that bridge. I'd like to bring in Gaurav Sawant on this broadcast, who of course, as you know, not just tracks geopolitical issues, but will be there on the ground at Bharat Mandapam to get you all of the updates that come in when the G20 Summit kicks off. Gaurav, there's a lot of focus on the takeaways really from the G20 Summit and what it means for India, not just about the optics, but also going beyond that in the global order.
You know, Akshita, the optics are important, but the tangible takeaways are far more important. And let's talk about India's big push. India's big push is to emerge as the voice of the global south, of the developing world. And that is why this proposal to have the African Union to be a part of the G20 permanently. And why? Now, G20 shouldn't just be a talk shop for the developed world or the problems that they are facing. It's also mitigating the problems that are being faced by the developing world and help them. The debt crisis, climate change, energy requirements. There are so many issues. Medicines that are required, debt burden, digital transformation, food and energy security. All of this is something that India is pushing on. Once again, very important. While the West wants to focus on the Russia-Ukraine war, India has repeatedly insisted this isn't the platform for it. There is a United Nations. This is a platform where the world needs to come together. The most powerful economies and the developing economies, and everyone moves together for a better tomorrow, for a better future. And priorities of the developing world need to be heard and need to be addressed. So that is what India will insist on, has been trying to insist on. This is just the summit. Last 1 year, 200 different meetings, 50 different cities. The effort has been one, be the voice of the global south. All the issues where you have divergence, keep them aside or address them the best way possible. But the issues where there is convergence, move forward on those lines, Akshita.
Very interesting. Gaurav, thanks for joining us with those details. But I'm going to take what you said and really take that forward with our Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, as well. Let's put the focus on geopolitics with Geeta. A redefined world order is something that everyone's been talking about, and that there's no doubt is going to be a big takeaway for the world and particularly for India. Because when we talk about a redefined world order, there's a place for India in that. Let's in fact put out those graphics for you first before we go across to Geeta Mohan on that. Now, besides the redefined world order, there are also other points. For example, a prominent voice to developing countries. The G20 group of 20 is not just developed economies, it's also developing countries, which is why India plays such a crucial role as to several other countries. The African Union, courtesy India, has been given a place in the G20 high table. And that's a very, very important takeaway, because many believe that they've been ignored and sidelined for decades. India has given them that breakthrough and that platform. Let me bring in now Geeta Mohan on this. Geeta, to you, looking at the takeaways, the tangible takeaways really from this G20 summit, geopolitically, what excites you particularly?
Well, geopolitically, what is challenging, Akshita, as also exciting is the fact that there are proposals and counter proposals. Now, G20 has really opened up to what the problems exist today. It is not so much a multipolar world as America, India and many other countries would like it to be, and that's quite evident in the challenges that the chair really faces today, and that has to do with all the objections because G20 is a consensus format, all the objections that are being raised by China, some by Russia on the Ukraine war front. But the fact is that that's where India is playing a very critical role in ensuring or trying to ensure that there's some semblance of consensus. Now, Amitabh Kant has told us that the consensus will be found in the joint document on development, but there certainly are those challenges. Apart from that, the biggest and the most important aspect of the G20 is not just the fact that it's an economic forum that is going to look at various important economic structuring and restructuring, whether it's debt restructuring, sovereign debts, relief to developing countries, climate change. But one important proposal, Akshita, is trying to get African Union to become a member of the G20. What does that do? It actually really then will be really representative of what the world and the new order really looks like, with the African continent included as a grouping, not as just one country or the other. 55 nations being represented apart from the 19 member states, 27 member states of the European Union, and now 55 member states of the African Union. That is going to be a big one.
Interesting takeaways is these. Thanks very much, Geeta, for joining us with those details. As Geeta pointed out, the economic takeaways from this kind of a summit are extremely crucial because that's essentially the large focus of the group of 20. How really to take forward economic decisions and economic reform. In our next report, we break that down for you on financial consensus from the G20. There's going to be a lot of focus on regulating cryptocurrencies, something where India has pushed and put the focus on. There's going to be a lot of focus on multilateral banks as well. Let's break that down all for you in our next report.
For the past 2 years, India has been pushing for global regulations on cryptocurrencies. Even as Bitcoin prices crashed last year after zooming to $64,000, the Finance Minister and the RBI have been highlighting what a threat the unregulated digital currencies could be. According to highly placed sources, the G20 Leaders Summit is expected to take up discussions on the way forward for regulating cryptocurrencies. The synthesis paper prepared by the IMF and the Financial Stability Board has laid down a comprehensive roadmap on building blocks for regulating these assets. This will now be taken up for further discussion at the summit this weekend, and there are indications that a consensus is in sight.
India's presidency has put on table in the G20 issues related to regulating or understanding that there should be a framework for handling issues related to crypto assets. Active discussions are happening. Content-rich papers from institutions like IMF, FSB, OECD are all being discussed on various issues, and on crypto, IMF and FSB have also given their synthesis paper.
There is also likely to be forward movement on reforms and strengthening of multilateral banks, in particular the recommendation on the capital adequacy framework. There is also growing support for overall reform of NDBs to articulate the voice of Global South. There has also been progress on the use of digital public infrastructure for financial inclusion. India is the co-chair of the Financial Inclusion Action Plan along with Italy and will give policy guidelines for G20 financial inclusion initiatives for a 3-year period from 2024 to 2026. Importantly, discussions will also be held on managing global debt vulnerability, which has been a key agenda of India's G20 presidency. Debt vulnerability of 3 countries, including Zambia, Ghana and Ethiopia, has been addressed under the common framework for debt treatment. Sri Lanka's debt restructuring is being done outside the framework.
Similarly, global debt distress. Countries are in deep distress. Not just less developed countries, but middle-income countries as well. That affects the global financial architecture as well. Even discussions on debt distress under Indian presidency are happening in the G20, seeking global collaboration.
However, differences remain in certain areas, especially tying up climate issues to debt restructuring is registering some pushback from China. Similarly, there has not been agreement with Russia on the issue of assessing the macroeconomic consequences of food and energy security. With Karishma Sudani, Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
And with that, I'm slipping into a short break here on 6 p.m. Prime. Coming up on the other side, we get you an exclusive sneak peek of the Bharat Mandapam, the venue where you're going to be seeing the grand G20 Summit taking place. It's all lit up, looks absolutely stunning. Live report coming your way.
Sonia Gandhi has written a letter regarding the calling of the session from 18th September to 22nd September, and she is trying to make politics regarding the calling of the session, actually which should not have been. And there is no question of any politics here. And in the temple of democracy, nobody should, especially the Congress party, which calls itself as the grand old party of the country and which has ruled the country for more than 60 years, they should not try to politicize this issue.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नाम श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी चेयरपर्सन कांग्रेस पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी ने एक पत्र लिखा है, जिसका अभी जवाब संसदीय कार्य मंत्री श्री प्रहलाद जोशी जी ने उनको भेजा है। बहुत ही दुख की बात है कि श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी, कांग्रेस पार्टी और विपक्ष ने इसको भी राजनीतिक विवादों में डालने की कोशिश की है। माननीय सोनिया गांधी जी से आग्रह करता हूं कि इस सदन के सत्र में उनकी पार्टी भाग ले।
Over 30 hotels, more than 3,500 rooms. New Delhi gets ready to host the world's most powerful leaders. More than 10,000 hospitality professionals are engaged to serve delegates who arrive to attend the G20 Summit. Luxury hotels, including ITC Maurya, Taj Palace, Le Méridien, Shangri-La, are all decked up to host the head of states.
A Rudraksh that you can definitely see is part of the mala, considered to be very auspicious for prosperity and health.
So this is a fusion of Indian tradition and culture.
Absolutely,
in
sir.
the hospitality.
Absolutely. You'll see everywhere in the hotel, the G20 and one earth, one family, one future. This is the motto and this is the vision that I think the country is with at the moment, and we want to continue with this. And I think we are very privileged as a group that after doing G20 meetings in most of our hotels across the country, we are able to host two good friends of our nation.
From comfort to food, Delhi's luxury hotels are leaving no stone unturned to give the leaders the best experience. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, a famous local dish of each state will be served to the guests.
Mushtaq ji, if you could elaborate this amazing experience that you've set us, and how the people who will be here at Taj, how you guys will be hosting them, if you can explain.
Like, we have got a spread of food which includes Indian, Western, and we have promoting millets also over here. The delegates which will be coming, we are catering to international guests also. So we have incorporated the food, like we have multiple dishes over here. So we are showcasing our Indian food also, we are showcasing the international food also.
A mix of Indian and Western cuisine is finalized. Many of the dishes millet-based, in line with Narendra Modi government's big push for millet. Taj Hotel's head chef Arun Sundarraj, who served several heads of states in the past, says all arrangements are in the place. Vishweta Singh, Anamika Gaur, Ashutosh Mishra and Shreya Chatterjee from Delhi. Bureau Report, India Today.
Welcome back. You're watching our special broadcast here on India Today as we count down to the G20 Summit. There's been a lot of focus on the building behind me. the Bharat Mandapam. It was constructed and renovated essentially to host the G20 Summit, now making it the largest convention center in the world. I visited the Bharat Mandapam and I can tell you, I can vouch for its beauty and its grandeur, lit up like never before. You can see that we've created a virtual Bharat Mandapam here in our studios. The real building is much grander and more beautiful. These are live images coming in right now of the Prime Minister having returned from Jakarta in Indonesia, touching down in the national capital. With just hours to go for all of our world leaders to return and to come to Delhi. You've got the Prime Minister returning after a power-packed visit to Jakarta for the ASEAN Summit. There's been a lot of focus on the Prime Minister's hectic schedule as well. So now he's back in Delhi. We're being told that the Prime Minister will be now immediately getting down to action to figure out whether we're fully set for the G20 Summit. He's been personally monitoring, reviewing all preparations. So right after this, from the Parliament Airport, the Prime Minister is going to be making his way to a review meet as well on all the setup that's been made in the national capital for the G20 Summit. Busy schedule, busy times for the Prime Minister. He flew down to Jakarta for just about a 24-hour visit in which, of course, several big takeaways came in from the India-ASEAN Summit and interacted with diaspora. Now he's back in the national capital, knowing full well that the next few days is extremely crucial for India. Aishwarya Paliwal is joining us live from outside the Bharat Mandapam in Pragati Maidan, beautifully lit up, I'm sure, Aishwarya. We're just getting in images right now of the Prime Minister back in the national capital, and it's back in fact to work for him. He's had barely any time to rest. He's touched down now in Delhi, and we understand that he's going to be making his way in for a review meet for the G20 preps now.
Well, working round the clock, Akshita, that's something that the Prime Minister has mastered over the past many years. And what we will see today, the review meeting that he will hold today, is a testimony to the fact that now he's touched down, and the first thing that he wants to do is to make sure that everything is tip-top. Now, the theme for this G20, Akshita, something which has been pasted and plastered across the national capital, is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means that one earth, one family, one future. The entire motto is this, the entire national capital is lit up with these kind of images, the G20 logo, almost everywhere, everything is lit up, and the review of what will happen over the past 3 days is something that the Prime Minister will do. Now, the security, let me tell you, Akshita, is top-notch. Everyone has now been asked to make sure that they have the ID cards, 9th and 10th, the entire NDMC area, the national, the central Delhi area will be fortified. Now, everyone is making sure that things are on top. If we speak about the kind of arrangements that have been made, especially foods, if we speak about the food, Akshita, this is the year of the millet. The United Nations had said 2023 is the International Year of Millet. So millet's also coming to the fore. Apart from everything that India will speak about, the soft power that, we are showcasing, through all these things, we will also be making sure the governments, in fact, are working to make sure that a very strong framework comes out by the end of it. And India definitely leaves a big legacy when we talk about the G20 summits, which have been held before, and the G20 summits, which will be held in the future. Akshita.
And the Prime Minister closely monitoring all that's happening at Pragati Maidan as well. He's had a hectic schedule, participating in a meeting of Council of Ministers as well as a cabinet meeting yesterday. After back-to-back meetings, he took off for Jakarta last night at 8 p.m. Less than 24 hours, he's back now in the national capital. So a whirlwind trip to Jakarta, but the Prime Minister putting the focus on diplomacy. And that's why making it a point that he was a part of the ASEAN Summit despite the hectic schedule and despite the hectic times right now in the national capital. He's back now, and today, as he's touched down just minutes ago in Delhi, we're being told he's now going to be a part of a review meet to ensure everything is in place for the G20 Summit and for the world leaders reaching tomorrow in Delhi. So the Prime Minister also is going to be closely reviewing the preparations and setup at the iconic Bharat Mandapam right now. Let's get you a report where we take you inside Bharat Mandapam to show you how amazing this building is and why right now it's being hailed as a national icon. The world is watching what's going to be happening at Bharat Mandapam, and it's an iconic location.
On 26 July, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Bharat Mandapam flying a drone. With that, India got a brand new international convention centre. Spread across an approximate campus area of 123 acres, this majestic convention centre is going to be the nerve centre for the G20 Summit.
This is where the final event of the G20 will take place. This is the Grand Summit meeting room, and these chairs made from Indian teak are meant for heads of states. 160 seating capacity in this entire giant hall with, of course, the host country, India, and its Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, will be spearheading the G20 from this very hall. And as you can see, the mixture between the Indian and international cultures, another grand chandelier brought in from Czechoslovakia, juxtaposing with it the Indian style paintings that mark a significance and amalgamation of both Indian as well as international cultures.
Adorned with artwork from every state in India, it's a swanky, high-tech, ultra-modern convention centre, millennium-ready, yet steeped in ancient Indian heritage.
The depiction of yogasanas are the starting point of the entrance to the entire Bharat Mandapam at the Pragati Maidan, depicting India's cultural ethos related to yoga and International Yoga Day.
Each floor, each room has a distinct imprint of Indian art and culture.
This is the area on level 2 where the international dignitaries will come in, but they'll be welcomed by the Indian culture of 5 elements which India holds very dear in all its teachings. And in Devanagari written here, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal and Prithvi is the ethos of how India has kept its Indian heritage intact. And with this will begin the G20 pre-area summits where the dignitaries will follow to the main hall.
Building of Bharat Mandapam was started in October 2016. 7 years later, it stands as a pride of modern India.
Now, exhibitions and conventions go hand in hand. Whenever we have exhibitions, the exhibitors require a convention center, and wherever we have convention centers, they require the participants require exhibition space. So this was missing. Now with creation of this facility and Bharat Mandapam International Convention Center, we are able to address this gap, and we are able to pose this as an international convention center which is comparable to the best in the world. So this missing link has now been addressed.
And now we'll take you to level 3, which has a plenary hall as well as a multi-purpose hall made to equip at least 7,000 people all together for various cluster of events that can be held together at this very platform.
The Prime Minister himself has been supervising the construction, and his suggestions improved the centre further.
See, his focus has been on technology, and he said that wherever we have these artifacts and art buildings and all, we should have a QR code, so that people just scan and come to know about that facility. Right. And now we are putting those QR codes at all these exhibits.
Yes, I did see them.
Yes.
Whether it's an outdoor amphitheatre or an indoor plenary hall, this Bharat Mandapam Convention Centre will be equipped with each and every technology that you see at the international level, whether it's Wi-Fi connectivity or QR code scanners. Even after the G20, the Convention Centre will continue to uphold India's international image of having in international state-of-the-art convention centers. With Ashok Banot in New Delhi, Milan Sharma for India Today.
So there you have it, the Bharat Mandapam, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely world class. And just like I'm standing right now virtually at the Bharat Mandapam, I can assure you that here on India Today, as the G20 Summit kicks off, we'll be located exactly at this spot to get you all the latest updates on the meetings and all the important updates that come in from the Bharat Mandapam when the G20 Summit kicks off. As we slip into a short break here on India Today, I want to take your focus away from the G20 Summit for a brief moment to tell you about the Jawan craze that's gripped the nation. Everyone's talking about SRK's latest film, saying this is bigger than Pathan and that this is his mega comeback. More details about this film and the reviews that it's received on the other side.
आज का जो शुभ अवसर है, सभी धर्मप्राण सनातन धर्मावलंबी सभी जनों को जन्माष्टमी की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं व बधाई। आज के दिन ये राधारमण मंदिर की विशेष परंपरा अनोखी कि प्रातः काल को अभिषेक कहीं अन्यत्र नहीं मनाया जाए, अपने राधारमण मंदिर में विशेष रूप से ये परंपरा प्रचलित है। देश विदेश से, नाना जगह से असंख्यों कोटि भक्तवृंद आकर के या मनोहारी छवि के दर्शन करके अपने बहुभाग्य की सराहना करते हुए आनंद को आनंद लेते।
रमण लाल प्राण धन राधा रमण लाल, और ये राधा रमण जी के दर्शन के लिए घंटे घड़ियाल की गूंज है, शंख ध्वनि है, मंगल ध्वनि के बीच यहाँ वैदिक ऋचाओं के साथ राधा रमण लाल जी का महाअभिषेक चल रहा है। ये पुरानी परंपरा, अक्षुण्ण परंपरा, लगातार चलने वाली परंपरा है, जिसके लिए ये पंचामृत का अभिषेक है। और ये परंपरा 450 साल से ज्यादा पुरानी है, जिसमें राधा रमण लाल जी के सभी गोस्वामी यहाँ उनका अभिषेक करते हैं। अभिषेक के बाद श्रृंगार और राजभोग की आरती श्रृंगार आरती की तरह होती है।
कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जो हमारे सनातन धर्म को चुनौती देते हैं कि नेस्तो नाबूद कर देंगे। जब तक एक एक भक्त इस पुण्य धरती पर जीवित है, तब तक कोई ऐसा नहीं जो धर्म को चुनौती दे, कोई ऐसा नहीं जो आस्था को चुनौती दे।
खड़गे आज राजस्थान आए हुए, इन्हीं खड़गे साहब ने कहा था कि मोदी जीता तो सनातन मजबूत हो जाएगा और इस सनातन को हमको हराना है। तेरे बाप वहां से जो है खिलजी आए थे, गौरी आए थे, गजनवी आए थे, गुलाम आए थे, शक आए थे, हूण आए थे, कुषाण आए थे, यवन आए थे, तुर्क आए थे, अरब आए थे, खलीफा आए थे, औरंगजेब जैसे लोग भी आए थे। उसके बाद में डच आए थे, फ्रांसीसी आए थे, पुर्तगाली आए थे, अंग्रेज आए थे। ये भगवानधारी लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं, इनके आशीर्वाद से ये सनातन मिटा नहीं, ये सनातन मिटा देंगे। ये सनातन को मिटाने के लिए चले। मैं आज अपनी बात समाप्त करने से पहले आप सबसे विश्वास चाहता हूं, यदि सनातन को जिंदा रखना चाहते हो कि नहीं चाहते हो, तो पूरी ताकत से बोलो भारत माता की।
Air quality today. In Delhi, 76. In Mumbai, 72. In Kolkata, 17. In Bangalore, 29. In Chennai, 57. In Hyderabad, 3.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
It's the kind of stuff that you witness when you see a Rajini film release. But this time around, it's for Shah Rukh Khan. King Khan's Jawan is being hailed as a game changer in his career as he's roped in all of the biggest faces from the South to produce a massy action film. And it received a tremendous, welcome as it released early this morning. Let's get you all of the images of the Jawan craze as I wrap up this edition of 6 p.m. Prime.
ऐसा नहीं कर सकता सिर्फ शाहरुख खान. Shahrukh Khan is mind-blowing.
The D-Day has arrived, and it is exactly how one had expected it to be.
बेटे को हाथ लगाने से पहले बाप से बात कर.
Firecrackers outside theatres.
हर रिकॉर्ड टूटने वाला, कोई रिकॉर्ड नहीं बचेगा.
Drum beats and fans dancing. First day, first show sold out. But most importantly, enthusiasm for Shah Rukh Khan's Jawan.
Ready.
Be it Mumbai's Gaiety Galaxy or Mirage Cinemas in Kolkata, or even Bangalore and Hyderabad. The Shah Rukh Khan fever has gripped the entire nation, and how. Fans are worshipping Jawan's poster, celebrating Janmashtami but in SRK style. Chants of Shah Rukh Khan have taken over everywhere, and no one is complaining. If it's Shah Rukh Khan, that's how things should be. Even inside theatres, fans started cheering and whistling as SRK made his entry on the big screens. Now, speaking of Jawan and its craze, the makers had hosted a screening the night before the film's release at YRF Studios. The who's who of the film industry showed up to cheer for SRK, Atlee and the entire team of this action thriller.
बेटे को हाथ लगाने से पहले बाप से बात कर.
The man of the hour, Shah Rukh Khan, too, was present, even though he refrained from being clicked as he arrived in his tinted car.
Like a soldier.
SRK's daughter, Suhana, also lent support to her dad. Meanwhile, Deepika Padukone, who has a cameo in this Atlee directorial, was spotted arriving at the venue. Other attendees included Hrithik Roshan, Katrina Kaif, Bhushan Kumar, and filmmaker Siddharth Anand. Sanya Malhotra and Sunil Grover, who play important parts in the film, also attended the star-studded screening. Rapper Raja Kumari, who has rapped in Zinda Banda 2, was present. And while she exited, she gave an honest review for the fans and shared how her mind was blown away by SRK's performance.
I was screaming, I was crying. I won't tell you guys any secrets, but it was mind-blowing. SRK and RK forever.
I will get them. While the verdict on the film is still awaited, The craze surrounding SRK and his latest film certainly seems to suggest that he has hit bullseye, and Jawan is set to be his second blockbuster of the year.
और क्या चाहिए?
एक गाना सुनाइए ना.
Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Over 30 hotels, more than 3,500 rooms. New Delhi gets ready to host the world's most powerful leaders. More than 10,000 hospitality professionals are engaged to serve delegates who arrive to attend the G20 Summit. Luxury hotels, including ITC Maurya, Taj Palace, Le Méridien, Shangri-La, are all decked up to host the head of states.
A Rudraksh that you can definitely see is part of the mala, considered to be very auspicious for prosperity and health.
So this is a fusion of Indian tradition and culture.
Absolutely,
in
sir.
the hospitality.
Absolutely. You'll see everywhere in the hotel, the G20 and One Earth, One Family, One Future. This is the motto and this is the vision that I think the country is with at the moment, and we want to continue with this. And I think we are very privileged as a group that after doing G20 meetings in most of our hotels across the country, we are able to host two good friends of our nation.
From comfort to food, Delhi's luxury hotels are leaving no stone unturned to give the leaders the best experience. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, a famous local dish of each state will be served to the guests.
Mushtaq ji, if you could elaborate this amazing experience that you've set us, and how the people who will be here at Taj, how you guys will be hosting them, if you can explain.
Like, we have got a spread of food which includes Indian, Western, and we have promoting millets also over here. The delegates which will be coming, we are catering to international guests also. So we have incorporated the food, like we have multiple dishes over here. So we are showcasing our Indian food also, we are showcasing the international food also.
A mix of Indian and Western cuisine is finalized. Many of the dishes millet-based, in line with Narendra Modi government's big push for millet. Taj Hotel's head chef Arun Sundarraj, who served several heads of states in the past, says all arrangements are in the place. Vishweta Singh, Anamika Gaur, Ashutosh Mishra and Shreya Chatterjee from Delhi. Bureau Report, India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 38 and minimum 28 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 29 and minimum 25 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 29 and minimum 25 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 29 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai, maximum 32 and minimum 27 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 25 and minimum 23 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Heads of state and other world leaders attending the G20 summit will be served grand meals on bespoke silverware bearing intricately engraved motifs inspired from the cultural heritage of India. About 15,000 silverwares crafted by 200 artisans have been made on the occasion of the G20 summit. And on them will be served yum dishes, curated by a team of 120 chefs. Delegates will have a total of 500 dishes to choose from. Western, Indian, fusions, mini bites, and star of the plate, millet. Delicacies are prepared to tantalize the taste buds. Other than a widespread of international dishes, hotels will also serve dishes from Delhi like chaat, dahi bhalla, and curries. The cuisines will highlight the diversity of India and its food culture. Millets will be the top focus in the appetizing menu. The special millet menu includes Kaju Pista.
Kia Sonet, undeniably wild.
Namaste and a very warm welcome to our special presentation on India or Bharat hosting the G20 Summit for the very first time. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to take you through the streets of the national capital on our ride. Now, this bus, one of the 400 electric buses added to the fleet where the Delhi government is concerned for public transport. State-of-the-art electric bus with state-of-the-art features befitting of a global power to add to its transport system. And of course, viewers, the spotlight, the national capital of Delhi, not just reflecting and basking in the glory of the G20, but also adding to it and completely spruced up, waiting to invite and receive, of course, invited already, but receive the delegates as they're going to continue to come in. This time around, for India, hosting for the first time, the theme for the G20 Summit, One Earth, One Family, One Future. Hop in on our G20 Hop On, Hop Off bus. Our reporters, our guests, all in where we talk shop, but also show you the sights and sounds of the national capital. And joining me there is my colleague Nabila Jamal. Nabila, introduce us to a plush ride. Like I said, most of us when we go abroad on holidays, we have that bus, a hop on, hop off. This is our G20 hop on, hop off. Introduce us.
And let me tell you, I've taken a brief ride in it and it's super comfortable. So this is one of the 400 buses, e-buses, electronic buses, which the Delhi government has introduced on the streets. And it's so swanky. It's basically going to be part of the whole G20 sparkle here, if I may say. This is precisely where we are right now at the center, heart of Delhi, which is a high security zone. This very bus, the e-bus, will be plying through with passengers. Of course, you're not allowed to get off the bus here, but it's got full branding of the G20 right outside, but this very new swanky electric bus will be plying through the high security zones carrying passengers. So the speciality of this bus is, first of all, it's an electronic bus, which means it has almost zero carbon emissions, or it has tremendously reduced carbon emissions. Apart from that, the kind of panic buttons here for safety, security. There are 3 CCTV cameras